pretty one needs to go on the
I'm telling you, you guys have seen them in your social media timelines. You've seen them on the local news. You've seen them in the newspapers, everywhere. And of course, they are friends of the Buzz. Let me see if we got our Facebook segment shot going. Okay, cool. All right, so one of the things that we decided to do in developing our, let me reset. Let me try and get that reset for you guys there. I want to put a little bit more artwork in that shot. All right, and I think we got everything. We are live and interactive, guys, and I think we have a little bit of issues on Periscope, but that's okay because we're going to work our magic and get this out there to you guys. But one of the things I wanted to do with First Friday is we invite the entrepreneurs back in. We are talking about where we are as entrepreneurs, if we're leaving some gaps, if we got some liabilities out there. So we give you this time to ask an attorney. And if you're on Periscope, you've got questions. One of the things that I have said is, especially in bringing you guys as far as online with your business, is sometimes you can leave a loophole and you can become liable. We also gonna, you guys can handle pretty much any question, because come to find out you're vice president of the NAACP Atlanta chapter, just off of a case at the Georgia Supreme Court. Okay, it just all kind of cases represented the teachers. You got it. Mm-hmm. You might want to push it up. You push your thing up so you can. Yes, so you can see. Okay. Just off of. Representing teachers. We got to find out, because sometimes these things will fall out of the headlines and we don't think it happened. Not to mention, this morning or yesterday, they're saying that they may have found the knife.
Yeah, I saw that.
In the you just did one of those attorney things. You ready to defend this one? They're saying that they may have found. We're gonna call it the OJ knife. It may not be the OJ knife. But apparently, a police officer may have had the knife all these years.
Makes sense.
Getting ready to retire, he wants to get his mementos framed. Okay, and it's absolutely insane that this could be a possibility. So we're going to talk about all of that. So introduce yourselves. Tell people how to follow you if they want to continue to ask the lawyer.
My name is Precious Felder. I'm an attorney and I own a practice called Law Offices of Precious Felder. And you can follow me on Instagram at PF_Law LLC or Twitter at PF-Law LLC. It's one of those, but find me at PF Law LLC somewhere.
How you doing? I'm attorney Gerald Griggs. I am the sole partner in Gerald Griggs LLC. You can follow me on all social media at Attorney Griggs, last name Griggs, and I'm also the vice president of the NAACP Atlanta chapter, and I'm also the chair of the Criminal Justice Committee of the Georgia NAACP. So you can find me at any rally, any protest, any injustice, and or you can follow me on the hashtag Justice Fighter.
One of the things that people ask me all the time is they see a lot of momentum in social media, but do people actually turn out? Do you get that same thing, or do we have to draw a line between, okay, this is activism online, this is activism offline? Do you see it?
There's definitely a paradox between social activism and actual activism. Now I am both. If you really want to deal with issues of social injustices, it's more than just sitting behind your screen on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, Pinterest, or whatever. You got to get out there and get in front of the decision makers. Go have meetings with your city councilman. Get out in the streets and protest. Go to the courthouse. Become an active citizen, and of course, vote. We just had Super Tuesday, and I must be remiss in my duties if I can say that as minorities, African American, people of color, brown, black, yellow, whatever, you guys were not in enough numbers on Super Tuesday to send a real message to the electorate that this rhetoric that's coming from the right, we're not going to stand for. We're not going to stand for hate in any form or fashion, and we're not going to take America back to pre-1965 or pre-1865. So if you want to be a real activist, vote for change.
And that's it. And a lot of times one of the things we did see on social media, everybody posting their I voted button.
Yes.
So are you excited to see that?
Definitely excited about seeing people, turn out and actually vote and post that. And I think we should continue to post that. But just remember, there are more important elections coming in May, and of course the election, the general election, which is in November. That everyone needs to vote. They're counting on the minorities not to vote, and that's why they're actually focusing more on the message of hate instead of the message of diversity and inclusion.
Right. Why do you think there was such a low turnout on the primaries? Do people not understand what that process is doing?
I think that people are a little tired at this point. They feel like we've had 8 years of progress, and there's not that groundswell candidate that we can all get behind. But I promise you that there are candidates on both sides. I mean, myself, I'm a Democrat, been a Democrat my entire life, and I believe in progressive politics. But the message that's coming from the right is so anti-diversity that we have to really take a serious look at the two candidates that are running on the Democratic ticket. And whether you're pro-Bernie or you're pro-Hillary, you need to pro-vote so we can pro-prevent pro-Trump.
Right.
And I'm be the first to say to Donald or any of his supporters, we're not afraid of your rhetoric. We're afraid of your lack of knowledge about what this is going to do to our image to the rest of the world.
Right. You are no stranger to an opening argument. No. Okay, I'm just saying. I tell you, but there's so much that we can talk about. Look, the hearts are up there. We got to talk about social media becoming an indictment. Either you post everything or you're not. It has literally saved lives. I always keep an eye on the Innocent Projects. Yes. And there were a couple of, when I say a couple, maybe one more.
You know where the Innocent Project came from?
Where?
Barry Scheck, who was a member of the O.J. Simpson defense team. You watch The People vs. O.J. Simpson, he was in the room.
What?
A lot of stuff revolves around that case.
Yes.
And how it changed justice. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So we got a couple of guys, three guys that were freed from prison, but there was a story on, because one of the guys that went to meet them and say, hey, look, welcome out, he got $1 million, spent 39 years on death row, and only got $1 million.
Yeah, that's not enough.
That's not enough. No. That's not enough. Everybody was like, it received social media. Somebody will share it, and everybody's like, oh, that's good. I'm like, no. Where's the interest? Where's the pain and suffering? I mean, everything that they're dealing with. And what if you deep dive into this, you come to find out that the Innocent Project, or the reason why people do sit in prison and that are innocent, is because the $42 DNA test, the cities, the counties, the states don't want to spend that money, and that's a meal. That's you feeding them for one more day. $42 could free them up if you just give them the DNA test. For the majority of them that are quote unquote innocent. Now I've had the pleasure, and I guess it would be a pleasure, of spending the day at the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary, and had a lot of folks tell me I'm in here for doing something. They didn't get me on what but a lot of them could be free if they could get this $42 test. And we'll say, hey, listen, here's a social media thing. Go buy this. Everybody go buy a patty pie. But imagine if we all go buy spring for a DNA test, and then have it administered.
And I think that's the most important thing. Social media advocacy. It's a lot of things that happening. Of course, we saw the patty pie. We see a lot of groundswell of Kickstarters and stuff. We need to focus the power of social media on actual systemic change.
Right.
Because if you're going to use hashtags, you need to use them. I mean, I love Beyonce. I love the formation tour that's coming. But how about a formation tour at the courthouse when we go to register to vote, or when we go to do jury duty? Get information to actually force social change. Because again, on Facebook right now, there are 400 million users. On Twitter, 300 million. Do you imagine the type of power if we got behind something like, I don't know, free the death row inmates that are wrongly convicted, or to actually tell the story of a case that's outside of the media that some type of
Well, let's
injustice
talk about
going
case
on.
outside the media. We're going to jump to this hashtag I got out there called media apartheid. When you are working with the case, that in some cases, okay, you show up in the news crews
Yes, right
out there every day.
Yes.
Right. But then
Precious.
but then there are some cases you need that kind of coverage.
Yes.
You can't get it.
Yes.
How do you network that? How do you do?
That's the things that we as lawyers in the new age are strategizing. How can we help the public become more aware? Me, I've embraced social media because I think that with the advent of the hashtag and live streaming, you can actually be in the courtroom if you get the right rule 11. You can be in the courtroom or you can be outside the courtroom, letting your voice be heard. And trust me, the judges hear it, the judges see it.
Have you ever used that in an argument?
It.
Kind of on slide to let the judge know you're gonna have to deal with this one. If you don't
handle
this one right.
APS. I mean, that was the whole purpose.
What's the point? Now I know everybody know how to dab, but you had a kind of a pose that everybody knows when you were in the APS case.
Yeah, I was just trying to stay awake. But
everybody knows that. Okay.
And everybody knows the jacket too.
But,
but basically. The time between the verdict and the actual sentencing, we made it a point to get our message out in media and in social media of the injustice that was about to be put upon these teachers. Because again, regardless of your position in that case, whether you believe people cheated, whether you believe people didn't cheat, no child was going to be helped by sending educators to prison. And that was our message. And again, I think the people heard us. I know Judge Baxter heard us, and I think that the pressure that was placed upon him by the media and by social media helped change the outcome of that case a little bit.
Now, when you take on a client and you go and look at their social media, do you try to get them to clean it up, or do you look at it and say, bro, this is gonna take you out?
Well, it's already out there.
Yeah, jump in.
No, I definitely do, especially if not really criminal. I think you can answer that one better.
More family.
More family. Yeah, family law, especially if it's a divorce or if it involves children or a child custody case. It's just a matter of time before that baby mom who don't want you to legitimate that child is going to step forward with your social media showing, that you're not a suitable father. Look at the picture you have with your gun in this one. Look at the picture you have with all these different women. You party every night.
Let's talk about that because I shared a post with you, and then we also saw a post yesterday of a young girl. She may have been maybe 10, and she was giving a diatribe trying to get her mother, look, stop, get off his Facebook. Let's not talk about him no more. Dad's over there with this woman and her kid. I mean, this young girl it was probably a 12-minute video that mom probably posted, just to let dad see this is how your daughter feel about you on Facebook. Now, mind you, too many people have seen it, but yet she said, Mom, I got you, you got me. Let's not worry about him and what he's doing and all this, because all their business is out there. But you see here again, another fatherless daughter is what we're going to end up with. But I posted I think I tagged both of you on the case where the woman was showing up for family court, ended up in the, what happened in that thing? But she was, there's a woman in the video.
She was being searched.
The woman that was searched what was he? And why is it that in the video we see the judge just like not paying attention? And my thing was, I thought the judge was in charge of the courtroom. Why was the judge not involving herself in that situation?
Well, first of all, correct me if I'm wrong, Gerald, but I've never had the experience of a deputy searching anybody, a plaintiff, defendant, or anybody.
And he wasn't dressed like the other deputy in the court. He was dressed.
You don't waive your Fourth Amendment right merely by walking into a courthouse. And I don't care if you're a defendant or not. You have a certain right. They have to get a warrant. So I mean, that was a disturbing video for me to sit there and watch. She was basically raped in the middle of open court, and I'm.
But he took her into another room to do it, though.
I know, but again, she's in a courthouse in the United States of America where the Constitution still applies. Right. So it was shocking to me, appalling.
She was brave. Yeah. She was brave because they tried to get her to recant everything that she said then and there, and she did not do it. She went right to the microphone and said, "Look, this is happening to me in this courtroom with these two deputies." And this judge, and she went to jail.
Yes.
And they took her child to public services.
Yes.
So, because clearly they was like, you go, jump up there and say this, you and your daughter can go.
And that's why it's important, the power of social media, that video getting out and the public seeing it. And I mean, that's what I'm saying. Social media allows the public to see what the media doesn't want you to see, and what a lot of the people in power don't need for you to see.
Wow. What kind of case does she have right now?
Oh man, she got a false imprisonment, civil action, sexual assault. I mean, she's got a big case.
Wow. But what about the judge's behavior? Attorneys don't speak very much on the judges. We noticed that.
Well, I mean, you know, it's the difficult situation.
I'm just saying, we noticed, you know, that. But is it because of the relationship you have to have going before the judges? You just don't speak as an attorney. You just don't speak on that.
Well, I mean, they're lawyers as well. They're members of the bar, so they're held to a higher standard. We are members of the bar. We're held to a higher standard. So, you know, if you see injustice going on, that's what the JQC, the Judicial Nominating Committee, is for, and that's what the bar is for. So I don't want to speak on what another member of the bar should or should not be doing, but I can sure tell you how to report them. Okay,
how to report them. I'm telling you. All right, so. What are we missing in this life that we have now? Hashtag we live in public. There's always a lot of concern about the fact that we live in public. Like a lot of times I'm live streaming. I don't care where I am. I'm live streaming. People come up. I don't want to be on video. I don't want to be on film. And what's legitimate, and how much has legitimately changed lately?
Well, you know, in most states, including Georgia, and there's an app out there. It's called Justice Georgia by the ACLU, gives you your list of your rights. Most states, as long as one party knows they're filming, you can film. Now, you know, you don't want to film people who don't want to be filmed. Now, if they know you're filming and they ask you please not to film, you shouldn't film them. But I'm sorry, people, you're living in a live stream, social media era. Everybody's got a phone with a video and a camera. So look, if you step out your house, just know that you're live.
There's no violation of privacy when you're out in the public.
Okay, so when you're out in the public, no violation of privacy. How much of our rights do we not know?
Oh, about 95%.
Right, I agree.
Wow. And when we go to an attorney, okay, should everybody have an attorney for everything?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Should you ever go to court without an attorney?
Absolutely not.
Would you ever do surgery on yourself? Would you ever,
some people are
cut yourself open?
On you, we watch the YouTube and go and get this surgery done. Right. But even for minor fractions, if you're going into a courtroom, you should have an attorney.
Listen, if there's a judge up there in a black robe that can take your freedom, you need somebody that understands your rights.
Understand your rights, yeah. I'll tell you, my daughter had a traffic ticket, and I was like, we're going to go in with an attorney on this. And I tell you, I have never been out of a courtroom so fast.
Oh, they get you out quick.
By the time we got there, he was like, okay, we're just going to see her, we out the door. I'm like, what? It handled like that.
And I know a lot of people say, well, you know, Mr. Griggs, attorneys are very expensive. Well, when's the last time you talked with one? You know, if you can afford to pay your cable bill, to pay your car note, to pay your mortgage, you can pay your freedom bill. And I mean, that's what it's about. It's about knowing and having a peace of mind that if I'm pulled over in Douglas County at 1:30 in the morning, I know somebody I can call.
I think it's about prioritizing. If you can, like he said, if you can pay your car note, your mortgage bill, if you can go to the club and pop bottles, then if you really want your child, if you really, you know, care for your child and you want to make sure they have the best outcome, or even if, you know, it's a principle of a matter and it's just a civil case. If you really find that it's an important cause, you would get an attorney. You wouldn't do it on your own.
Right. We got about 10 minutes on the Facebook one. We got to talk about our youth in our community. You and I were talking about this earlier as to what is considered gang activity. Well, now, we know we got some gangs in Atlanta, but everything is falling into that category. One of the things I said, if you see a couple items on the news, understand that there's something might be going on in the Gold Dome. We heard about, a lot of people heard about for the first time, the affluent triangle, the heroin use and deaths. You know, all of a sudden news has this 4-part series that they put out there, and we were like, where did that come from? You knew some things were going on, but to put out a 4-part series, and then all of a sudden, I saw on the news just yesterday, they said that, the bill didn't pass. People were upset that the bill didn't pass. So they kind of rushed the news story out there to support the arguments that were happening at the Gold Dome. But people don't think about that like that. They figure out if they see it on the news, it's happening. If they don't see it on the news, it's not happening. And we really don't know what's going on in the courtrooms unless, it's a news story. Yes. Or about one or two individuals, but it's affecting so many more.
And here's what you have to understand about young African American males or young minority males. The law is focused in such a way I'm going to be a little politically incorrect. The prison industrial complex is alive and well, and it is fueled by sending young men to prison.
And women.
And women. And so you have to understand that certain laws have been put in place, namely the Georgia Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act, which states that if 3 or more people are together with common hand signals, clothing, or for a common objective, and one of them does crime, you're under the Gang Act. And now you get an additional 5 to 10 years in prison on top of whatever the other crime was. And you have to understand they are targeting this community with that act. 3 young African American males or females together at the mall, and they happen to have on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram a name, young sexy and fly, or young something. And and at that point somebody commits a shoplifting, now you're part of the gang. Right. And now you're facing serious time, and you're on the news, gang members convicted. And you have to understand that what's going on at the Gold Dome is not completely reflective of what's going on in the greater society. They sneak bills in, they get stuff passed. They had the prosecutors removal of the law enforcement officers from the grand jury, which was a decent bill, but it was so much pork put into the bill that you couldn't understand it. And then they have a hearing. They announced the hearing at 5 o'clock for the next morning at 9 o'clock, and only 15 people show up. But we're all talking about the Freddie Gray, Walter Scott issue, when we're having the same thing in Douglas County, that we just had a shooting, over in DeKalb County, the Anthony Hill shooting. You need to understand these things affect you, and when laws are being formulated, you need to be in those hearings. You need to know what your legislators are doing. And
it's interesting you say that too, because I remember during the height of the Black Lives Matter protest. On the one hand, we had people in the streets in 4 or 5 cities, but at the same time, we had congressional hearings going on that was part of the president's 21st century policing, and it was empty. And Congress is like, okay, what do we need to do to fix the Black Lives Matter? What do we need to do to fix this case? And the interesting thing was the Baltimore mayor was on there, the Sacramento mayor was on there, and other cities that went on to become tinderboxes in this situation were on the president's 21st century policing. I just find that an interesting correlation.
And that's the importance of social media. If we're going to occupy anything, we need to stop occupying the corner and start occupying those hearings. Stop occupying the streets and flipping over cars and doing all that stuff. First off, that's illegal anyway. We need to start occupying the Senate hearings, the congressional hearings, your town hall hearings. You need to occupy your mayor's office. You need to occupy your congressman's office. And you need to go talk to your governor. They need to understand that we are not going to stand for this. We're going to have 50 to 1,000 to 100,000 people in your office over and over and over again until you get it, that we're not going to sit idly by and let young, black, brown, yellow, or any other color die in the streets simply because we felt threatened.
And that's the thing that they don't have to worry about is people coming to their offices.
No.
Because they know that you're going to march in the street, you're going to get in front of the news camera. Why is it that we think the news camera is more important than getting in these hearings and under the Gold Dome?
I don't know, but if we turn out in such if their goal is to be seen on the news, if 100 people show up to a Georgia legislative hearing, the news is going to show up because there's generally only about 15 people in there anyway.
Wow.
And those are the 15 most powerful people in Georgia at that particular point because they're passing the law. Yeah. And it's only 40 days out of the whole calendar year. They have 2 big days. The crossover day and the opening day, where you can get all the information you want on whatever bill you want. You saw the governor just had a press conference on religious freedom bill, and actually the people opposed to it was like 300 people outside the governor's office. Right. Let's do that.
That's a small area outside the governor's office. It's right there at the front door. You don't have to go all the way into the building. The governor's office is right there at the front door. Yes. Don't be surprised. What's been your most difficult case and your easiest case?
Well, most difficult case was...
Most notorious case.
Well, Atlanta Public Schools was my most difficult case.
And the final verdict in that was?
It was guilty, and we're still appealing it, and teachers are going to eventually, hopefully not, but go to prison. And all of that was because of the OSD. I mean, that's the issue. You criminalize something so you can take over that portion. You know, and the Opportunity School District is the result of the Atlanta Public Schools cheating trial and the cheating scandal. It was to criminalize the public educational system so we can take it over. You need to know what's behind everything. And of course, the easiest case would be the next case.
My most difficult case. I think I approach a difficult case every time I have to consider arguing for custody of a child where one parent isn't fit and that parent won't see their child anymore. I think I just had a case yesterday in front of Judge Barwick in Fulton County, unfortunately, where mother custody was taken away from mom, and she just couldn't provide any type of positive feedback to the court. She couldn't tell us where she lived. She couldn't tell us if she was
She
stable.
couldn't articulate it, or she
couldn't articulate,
no
and she has no lawyer. So it makes it difficult for me because I'm arguing against a person who I think doesn't understand the severity of the situation. And unfortunately,
who were you representing?
I'm representing the father.
You representing the father?
I represented the father. It was a legitimation case to begin with, and it was just I just want to see my child. I just want visitation. And unfortunately, as we got deeper into the case and we got more facts about the mom and how unsuitable she was to the parent, unfortunately, I had to flip that argument to he should have the child, period. Because unfortunately, mom is not a fit parent. She doesn't have a stable home. She doesn't have a stable job. She's bipolar. And there's a lot of things that follow with that emotionally because I had my own child. And I know that if someone were to go to court and argue to take my child from me, I know how emotional I would get.
Wow.
So that was emotional for me, but unfortunately I had to think about the child and what was in the best interest of the child, and that was to be with their father.
Right. And one of the things I asked you when you came in is like, how do you walk away from, how do you end your day with what you guys have to deal with?
Your day doesn't ever end. You never not on.
Yeah, sometimes you don't sleep.
Yeah, you
Really?
carry it with you.
Yeah.
You know, which is mainly the reason why, you know, some of your greatest trial attorneys don't live that long.
What made you want to do this?
Johnny Cochran.
Johnny Cochran.
Yes.
Wow.
And Dr. King. But
So are you
mainly
watching the OJ?
Watching it.
Every
you
minute
know,
of it?
I mean, I can
Every time
remember.
it comes on.
What do you think about it? What do you think about this show? OJ versus
People versus
OJ Simpson.
I think it's interesting for the public to get an
A little more
insight
insight.
into it. Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
we
because
saw
I
every minute of it, but now they know what people were thinking, how they were feeling emotionally, how it affected their families. Like, how do what you do affect your family, though?
Wow. Well, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, my mom, my daughter, my ex-wife, you know, they understand the pressure that I'm under, but they understand this is what I love to do. So, I mean, it becomes a part of it.
Same for me. And when I go home and I talk to my parents, and you know my parents, and you know they went to law school. I talk to them about almost every case I have, and they sometimes give me insight, or they'll sometimes say, "Well, Precious, if that's not the one for you, or if it's bothering you that much, you just got to let that one go." Although I've never let go of a case, so that's never really happened. But everyone who knows me will probably hear something about a case I've had.
I was going to ask, have you ever let go of a case? Have you ever said, okay, no, this is not the case, let me send you on to somebody else?
No.
No, you take them all?
Pretty much, yes.
Why?
Well, I mean,
How?
people come to you in need, and you know, first and foremost, as an attorney, you're there to help people. So you feel that, you know, that pull in your heart, like, I got to do something. I got to help them.
And I will say this: I'm an attorney. I like to win. Like Johnny Cochran said, I'm not
in this
right
Yes.
for respect. I'm going to win.
Right.
And I agree with him. I like to win. However, depending on the situation, I'm an attorney whose focus is resolution, and not so much. We don't have to battle. It doesn't have to be a battle. If we can come to a resolution, if we can come to a settlement, if we can talk about it, if we can get the parties together to figure out an outcome for the best of everybody, that's what I prefer. However, if you're on the opposite end of the table of a very aggressive attorney who makes it all about him or her, well, then that's where I go.
All right. On that note, we get our warning here on Facebook, so tell everybody again how to follow you.
You can follow me at all social media at Attorney Griggs or #JusticeFighter.
And you?
At PF Law LLC.
All right. When we come back, we're going to just reset here and bring on our entrepreneurs and let them tell you what they have got going on. This has been an amazing segment. I thank you so much for coming out, both of you. All right. Hashtag Ask a Lawyer. If you tweet them, you can get some questions asked. Remember, they said anytime you go into the courthouse, your freedom is at stake. So make sure you go with an attorney. Thank you guys so much. All right, everybody stand up and stretch and get ready. Woo! I tell you. All right.
A spiritually filled, thinking woman. And that is what we've been lacking in our community.
Go now to DryerBuzz.com and follow @DryerBuzz on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's all about the buzz.